Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining me today. I am joined by ex-Manchester United player, Burnley player, Stoke. Who else was there, Luke? There's a bunch of them, wasn't there? Cambridge.
Yeah, been a few.
Yeah.
MK Dons.
MK Dons, you were for a few years. Yeah.
Yeah.
Brilliant stuff. Well,
too long
absolutely.
ago.
But joined by ex-Premier League winner, Luke Chadwick. Thank you for joining me, Luke. How are you, Luke?
Yeah, I'm all good. Very well, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad. It's a bit early for me, to be honest, even though it's 10 a.m. Since lockdown, I've just been all over the place by myself. I don't know about you, but you got kids and stuff, so I guess your routine's pretty set.
Yeah, well, both my kids are getting older now. So my youngest has just gone back to school today. He's 15, so it's great to get him out the house because all he's been doing is playing on them bloody Xbox and all that sort of thing. And the eldest is 17, so he's finished school now. So it's a bit back. It's good to get back to some sort of normality. That's for sure.
Brilliant stuff. Well, what are you up to these days, then, Luke? Just in general, like obviously post-playing days and what you sort of doing to, with your time.
Yes, I'm involved in an organisation now called the Football Fun Factory, which, as the name suggests, is around making football fun for young kids. We run programs from children from 2 years to 12 years, and it is around having fun, and it's not around developing professional footballers of the future, but it's around using football as a tool to develop positive life skills just as much as good football skills. So it's a really rewarding role and something I enjoy doing immensely.
Fantastic, and it's called the Football Fun Factory. That's a good name. I like that name. Yeah, Triple F.
Yeah, FFF. So
FFF.
That's how football should be. Football should be fun for everyone, and that's what our aim is to make it that for the youngest children involved.
Brilliant stuff. Sounds great. Yeah, thank you for joining me again. I wanted to just obviously jump into your career and your time at Manchester United in particular. Obviously, this is a United channel. People love to hear your take on a few things. I mean, you broke in around about sort of 1999, or that's when you were signed by the club. Obviously, a pretty special time for Manchester United. I mean, what was it sort of like? That whole roller coaster or whirlwind of going to sign for Manchester United at that time of all times.
Yeah, obviously, it's a hugely something I got huge pride in. Obviously, signing for the biggest club in the world. I actually signed for Man United when I was 14 as a schoolboy, and I used to travel up on the weekend. And then when I left school, I think in 1997 was when I moved up to Manchester full time to live in Diggs and be a YTS player. And then I think it was a 99 when I signed my first professional contract. Then I went out on loan to Antwerp, and then when I come back from Antwerp is the season that I was in and around the first team, which is obviously incredible, really, to be around the players, the standard of player and the characters that I was day in, day out is something I'll certainly never forget for the rest of my life, and a good thing to tell me grandkids when I have any.
Crikey, yeah, absolutely, yeah. Played for Manchester United. I think you got 25 Premier League appearances for United, and I think I was looking at your stats, maybe about 38 overall in all competitions. So, a lot of games during arguably the best period of the club as well for a long time anyway. I was just wondering, out of all those games that you played for United, is there one that sort of sticks out, or your favourite performance that you put in a United shirt?
I think definitely the best moment in a United shirt was scoring a goal against Leeds at Ellen Road. That's something I'll certainly never forget. I remember I came on at half time. I think Nicky Butter got injured, and I went and come on left wing, played the second half, done all right, and then scored the easiest goal you'll ever score. I remember Nigel Martin dropping the ball at my feet right inside the box, and I thought, even I can't miss this one. And my eyes lit up, and I just tapped it in the empty net and ran off like a absolute lunatic. But that was obviously a
good old Nigel Martin.
Yeah, he was a fantastic goalkeeper. Ollie,
he was.
Ollie had the shot, and it was a real weak one, but for some reason he dropped it, and I was sort of fox in the box to tap it in. So it was a great moment, probably the
especially
highlight
against Leeds. Yeah, I mean, to do it against big rivals like Leeds, that must have been pretty special. And also another special thing that must have been pretty exceptional was just that season. Was it 2000-2001 where you obviously lifted the Premier League title? I mean, could you just tell us just a little bit about that whole experience of actually being a part of a Premier League winning side that year?
Yeah, it was surreal, really. It was such a whirlwind season. I started the season on loan in Belgium at Royal Antwerp, and when I was playing quite well out there, and when I got called back to Man United, I was gutted at the time because I thought I was just going back to play in the reserve team for the season. But when I got back, I was sort of in and around the first team straight away, and it was sort of pinch yourself time. Every morning I'd wake up. I couldn't even drive at the time, so my girlfriend had dropped me off at the at Carrington, and I'd be in training with Roy Keane, Ryan Giggs, David Beckham every day. So it was a real intense season in terms of, obviously it was a complete different environment than Royal Antwerp was like. You had to be on it every day in training. It was mentally and physically. It was a real a hard season in terms of that. But it was like a dream come true for a young kid from a little village in the south of Cambridge. It was something I never really expected I'd do. So it was amazing. I loved it. I loved being around them incredible players day in, day out.
Yeah, I bet there was an exceptional standard just generally around at the club then, with Fergie and Keno and all these guys around. So I bet you had to be on your A game in training.
Oh, yeah, definitely. There's a fair few times I get a telling off because I was a little bit sloppier. I gave the ball away. I think I always tried to work as hard as I can. So that was something that was sort of, you had to do that at Man United. But if you were giving the ball away or not doing your job technically, you were certainly told in no uncertain terms to sort of pull your finger out and raise your game.
Did you ever get the famous hairdryer treatment from Fergie or anything like that?
I did a couple of times. I think in terms of that, I think obviously a lot of people always ask about the hairdryer treatment, and it's hugely scary. A man like Sir Alex shouting at you, but the worst feeling in the world was that you'd let him down because he'd built such a great relationship with you. He always wanted the best for everyone at the club. When you felt like you'd let him down, it was the worst feeling in the world because he was everything at the club. The same if he told you you'd done well or he praised you, it was the best feeling in the world. So he was the one man that you wanted to impress and the one man he didn't want to let down. So it was, although scary getting the hairdryer treatment, the worst feeling by a distance was of letting him down or feeling as if you'd not kept up the standards of his football club.
Yeah, what an exceptional man manager he really was. But also just wondered, was there anybody in particular you sort of found yourself hanging around with most, like, or bond with at the club while you were at the club in particular, out of any of the other players? Like, who were your mates?
I think in terms of my mates, it was always the younger players that I sort of came through with. I spent a lot of time with Wes Brown, John O'Shea, David Healy. They were the sort of players that I came through with. I think in terms of how I was a real quiet, shy lad, I didn't sort of shout around or anything like that. I was just so sort of in awe of being around these players, but they were all like a fantastic group to be around, and they always sort of made you feel so welcome being part of it. And it was amazing to be part of a squad. I think maybe I felt like I wasn't truly a part of it because I never played really regularly, but to have been around it even for the season or season and a half that I was something that I'm obviously extremely proud of.
Yeah, well, I mean, not many players get to play 25 league games for United and lift the title. So nobody can ever take that away from you. That is an amazing achievement. Most people, I'd cut my arm off for that myself. So, I wondered, is there any sort of funny stories that sort of spring to mind of your time whilst at United, like whether it's with these, the John O'Shea and Wes Brown characters on a night out or anything else?
And there's a fair few. I'm not sure there's that many I'd be comfortable saying on the TV. Like, I think there was one time where we had the Christmas night out, and there was a reserve that was on a Tuesday, and I think there was a reserve team game on the Thursday night that I was playing in. So everyone that was told that they were planning the reserves were told they weren't to go out on the Christmas do. But I thought, unfortunately, I sort of got sucked into going along, and then it all kicked off for some reason at the Christmas do. There was loads of fighting going on. It was a nightmare. And I come back into training the next day, and obviously the manager knows everything what's been going on, and he was absolutely fuming about it. And he I walked past him. It was just coincidence that I walked past him at the wrong time because I'm sure I was the least of his worries. And he just sort of shouted at me that I was to be fined 2 weeks' wages because he'd found out that I was out. And I was sort of gutted about that. But that day was also the day where it was like the club Christmas dinner at Carrington. So it was a day where the staff hand out the foods to the players. That's sort of something that was done every year. So I was sat down with a couple of the lads, and Sir Alex was handing out the soups. He had the soups in his hand, and he sort of saw me. He came over and banged a bowl of soup down on the table in front of me and said, "That'll be the most expensive bowl of soup you ever eat." So that was one story where
what an image that is! What an image that is! Fergie dishing out soup to the players. I love that.
Yeah, that's what it was like. That was sort of the Christmas dinner every year at the club. The staff would hand out the food to the players, which obviously a nice touch and something a little bit different.
Fantastic, Luke. Just wondering, did you have any sort of pre-game rituals or anything like that before a game? Would you do anything? Or obviously we hear some people have got little superstitions, anything like that with you?
No, not really. I think most of the time I was on the bench, so I didn't really have a chance to do that sort of thing. So I was just sort of sit on the bench and wait for that time for me to come on. But I never had any. I know a lot of players are quite superstitious in terms of eating the same sort of food or putting their football kit on in a certain way, but I was never sort of into any of that. I was just sort of happy to be in the squad, that I weren't in the stand watching from there. So it was, I didn't really have a ritual or routine before any game.
Do you remember any of the strangest ones in the dressing room? Like, did somebody put their left sock on first? I seem to remember, I think, was it Keane or Beckham or someone's got a really superstitious routine, but was there anybody you remember?
I can't remember anyone doing anything in particular. I know a lot of them, like I say, put the kit on. I remember before every game, this was a long time ago, a memory I've got of Ryan Giggs and Nicky Butt used to seem, when we had pre-match at Old Trafford, they seemed to eat so much food. I think, and if I ate that much, I wouldn't be able to move during the game. But that is something I do remember, the amount of food that they used to shovel down before a game.
Was it all things like pasta as well, wasn't it, back then? Or you'd eat a lot of carbs before games, is that right?
It was always sort of the chicken and pasta, all that sort of thing. I think a lot of pizzas quite similar now, although it has changed a little bit in terms of the portion size, I think. But it was always a chicken, pasta, beans, that sort of thing.
Nice, great stuff. Damn you, Jamie Oliver. Just wondering, was Fergie like the scariest or the sternest manager you played for, or was there another manager, a different spell that you sort of were more sort of scared of, for want of a better word?
No, I don't think scared of. I think with Sir Alex, obviously, from the moment of meeting him as a 14, 15-year-old kid, you're just in awe of him all the time. I think he had that incredible aura about him for you to want to work harder than you thought you possibly could for him. And having every member of the squad doing that, and every member of staff at the squad wanting to do the best they can for him, and everyone pulling in the same direction. And I think if you get that at a football club, the only thing you're going to get is success. And because he developed them relationships and got people all thinking the way that he was thinking and working and pulling in the same direction, is where the success comes. So I wouldn't say scared of, but in awe of Sir Alex.
Just massive respect, yeah,
without a doubt, yeah.
Yeah, no, it does seem like that from the outside. Like his man management seemed second to none. Like he did seem to manage to get the absolute most out of all the players. Like you often see certain players, like whether it's Anderson or Nani or whoever, they just, after they leave Manchester United, they're not quite the same level of player. I just think Fergie squeezed that little bit more out of players than most. But I mean, how did it feel when you sort of left Manchester United?
I was sort of ready to go. I think I was probably quite happy to leave and sort of find my own path in football to play some games. I think after the first season, when the year that I won the league, I sort of suffered from a few injuries, and the one outstanding quality that I had was I was really fast when I like running with the ball, one of the quickest players. I think when I lost a little bit of that pace, I never really had enough to compete for a place anywhere near that squad. So, and the manager was honest with me and told me that was the case, and it was just time to move on and find a direction to go in and find a different journey in my career and I was so happy, obviously, to have been at Man United, but also I wanted to be a footballer, was a be all and end all. That was always the dream. So to go off and to play some games at a professional club and in the first team at clubs was obviously great for me to go and do that when my time at United came to an end. So there was no sort of disappointment or regret or anger or anything like that. I think it was just time for me to move on and find another path.
Yeah, well, it's a great thing to be a part of, like you say, and just to be a professional footballer playing for anyone seems pretty great to me. But I mean, who would you say the best player that you sort of ever played with would be? I'm guessing it would obviously be when you're at United, but who do you think it would be? Maybe not.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not.
Definitely be at United. And obviously, there is a fair few to choose from, but I think I always say the same, and I think most people say that ever had the pleasure of playing or training with him would have been Paul Scholes. He was an absolute genius. The way that he was just always seemed to be 2-3 steps ahead of everyone else. Used to do a lot of possession and small-sided games, and his team would win every day. He could do everything. He could pass short, long, shoot, run, like dribble in and find a little space to dribble through. He's just an incredible talent he had eyes in the back of his head and always seemed to choose the right option, just always had that in his mind, such a good picture of what he wanted to do with the ball and always managed to do more or less exactly that. So he was, Scholes was always the best player, more or less every day in training. He was the best player, an absolute joy.
Well, yeah, he really must have been because a lot of people do say Paul Scholes when they're talking about going back. Like I always remember that story from Ronaldo where he's pinged it 70 yards and hit a little tree and things like that. So so that's brilliant to hear. Just also, who would you say the best player you played against was?
Probably the best player that I was on the pitch against. I came on once at Old Trafford against Arsenal. I think it was a day when we won 7-1 where Dwight York scored 4 goals. Now, I came on in that game and obviously Thierry Henry was playing. He was like a wonderful player. He didn't have a great game that day, but obviously to be on the pitch against someone like that, he's probably the best player that I'm not directly playing against, but the best player I've ever been on the pitch against.
Nice. And do you remember any players in particular you had sort of particular heated battles with or anything when you were playing for United? Like obviously not necessarily the best player you played against, but maybe the sort of the most heated. If that makes any sense.
It makes sense. I think it's a tough one again because I didn't play all that many games to do that. I remember in training a lot of the time, because I was usually in the team that weren't starting and would play against a team that was starting. And I played a lot on the right wing against Mikhail Silvestre when he played left back. And I had a real tough time against him. It was almost impossible. I could run past most people, but I could never sort of get past him. He'd be too quick, too strong. And he was someone that I really found it incredibly hard to play against was Mikhail.
Was that when he was playing for Arsenal, was it? Or
that would have been in sort of the training.
Oh, the training, sorry. Yeah.
Because I weren't like the 11 v 11s where the team that had started would play against the rest of the squad. So in terms of, he was a real hard man to get past in that. But in terms of playing against, like I say, I didn't play a huge amount of games to sort of play against many top players over and over again.
Fantastic stuff. So I just wanted to know also about your, other, when you played for other football clubs, what was your sort of favourite or most enjoyable spell at another football club? I know you were at MK Dons for, was it 4 years, but was there another football club that you just sort of really loved or you really enjoyed your time at more than others?
Yeah, I think I was lucky enough to play under some really good managers and enjoyed my time at all the different clubs. I say MK Dons was a period where I was probably stayed fit the longest period of time and played a good amount of games every season, which was obviously fantastic. Probably the most memorable period would have been Cambridge United because I'm a big Cambridge United fan and was a Cambridge United fan growing up. So to get the opportunity to play for them and to be in the team that got promoted back to the Football League and then coming back to Old Trafford to play against the team that I started for Cambridge, which was obviously a massive occasion for me and the football club, was incredible. So I'd probably say Cambridge United was the most memorable because I was playing for the team that I supported. But in terms of consistency of playing, it would probably have been my time at MK Dons. But I had really good, enjoyable spells at all the many different clubs that I played for.
Yeah, no, you had a great career, like we were saying, playing for a bunch of different clubs. other big clubs as well, like Stoke and Burnley and these sorts of teams. So fantastic stuff. I just wanted to get your take a little bit, if that's okay, Luke, on United currently, like how we're getting on now. And I mean, how do you rate sort of Solskjaer's time at this football club so far?
Yeah, I think Ole's going to be the right man to move us forward. I think he is a long-term project where you look at David Moyes. Obviously, that was more or less an impossible job taking over from the gaffer, and it was always going to be tough. Then Louis van Gaal and Jose Mourinho came in, who I don't think were ever long-term fixes. It was sort of looking for a bit of short-term success, because I don't think the two of them would have stayed for 5-10 years. Whereas Ole is at that age, he knows the club inside out. He's learnt so many lessons from Sir Alex himself, still gets the support from Sir Alex. And I think it is a long-term project, but obviously the board, the fans need appeasing with some sort of success quickly. So I do think he's the right man. I do think we're probably 2-3 players short of really challenging, but saying that, it's a strange situation with the COVID and whatnot. There's, apart from Chelsea, no clubs have really strengthened a huge amount. Liverpool haven't, Man City haven't. Thank God they didn't get Messi, because that could have sort of swung it in their favour completely. So obviously there's still time. There's still talk of Sancho. I think we're probably a centre-half short of really, a world-class centre-half short of really challenging. But I do think next season, because of what's happened with obviously this awful situation with the coronavirus, that it is probably going to be as open as it's been for 2-3 years, and there is an opportunity to be thereabouts come the end of the season if business can be done in the next few weeks.
Just I know, obviously mentioning the COVID there, I just had a thought, like, well, it's probably hard to answer, obviously, but how do you think you and the lads would have sort of dealt with this situation back then? You just taking it in your stride, or like, obviously you're not playing in front of any crowds. There's all this situation going on. So, well, I mean, would you have just cracked on with it as usual? Do you think it would have been something that you were affected by?
Yeah, I think it affects people differently, in terms of some players are really about playing for a crowd where it might suit others better, where it is a bit of a less of an atmosphere. I think human nature in general, you just get on with it and deal for things. There's nothing you can really do about it. So it's obviously a strange situation. Man United came back from that lockdown period and looked absolutely fantastic for 4 or 5 games before hitting a bit of a brick wall and then stumbling over the line a little bit. But it is, different people deal with it differently. I think at the end of the day, the team with the best players are going to win, because with a crowd or no crowd, they're footballers, they're doing their job. So throughout the course of a season, which hopefully it won't be anything like that, we'll have fans back in the crowd soon. But obviously the start of the season is going to be without the crowd, and it is going to be a case of getting through it the best that you can, and hopefully be in a position to really challenge once the crowds come back in and it does return to a little bit of normality in terms of the atmosphere and how games are usually played. Because I do think there has been a bit of a lack of the edge to the games that you've been able to watch on telly, particularly how games start. They don't seem to sort of spring into action straight away. It takes a long period of time for it to warm up to a certain extent. I think when there's a crowd in there, that gets you going early and you get off to a quicker start. So it'll be interesting, but I'd like to think United can be thereabouts at the end of the season and certainly be in that challenging for the top 2 spaces.
Brilliant stuff. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting to hear you say we need a centre back. It does seem pretty obvious to most people that we should be looking at getting a proper world class centre back in there. If you look at all of our old United teams, they've had great centre back pairings and certainly world class centre backs. Arguably, you could say, obviously Maguire's got a lot of hope. I've got a lot of hope he's going to develop and really sort of replicate some of those performances previously. But for United, because I think his season was good, but maybe he just needs a proper partner. So how do you sort of rate Manchester United's transfer window so far, with getting Donny van de Beek? And do you know much of him? And sort of what do you think, where else do you think United maybe need to have a look at getting some players in?
Yeah, I think Van der Beek's a fantastic player. He's superb. I remember watching him, I think Real Madrid in the Champions League, not last season, the season before, and he looked like he absolutely ran the show. And he's obviously got a fantastic background coming from Ajax, who obviously do things right. And I think he can have a good impact. It's interesting to see where he'll potentially play with the other talented players the club have got in them central areas, in that attacking midfield area. Obviously, I think Sancho would be massive because of what he is, a young English player who could get fans off their seat. I think defensively is obviously Shaw has had a good season, done well, but how long will he stay fit? He's suffered from injuries a lot. But centre half, I do think Maguire and Lindelof are both good defenders, good solid centre halves. I just don't think the two of them together would win a Premier League. I think similar to Liverpool, who had a good team, and then Van Dijk took them to the next level. That was signing there. The thing is, and the struggle is for everyone in the recruitment at Manchester United, I don't think there's that many Van Dijks about in terms of pulling someone out the bag like that. Where is a world-class centre-back? Obviously, people speak about Koulibaly, who I think is in talks with City now. I've not seen enough of him, but I wouldn't say he's in the Van Dijk mould. I think it is going to be hard for him to do that, but that's what the recruitment staff are paid a huge amount of money to do, is to sort of find someone who's going to make this team go from a good team, a good Premier League team, into a great Premier League team. So obviously I think fans are getting frustrated a little bit by the transfer window so far, but I don't think a transfer window is a transfer window. It can't be judged until it's over. There's still time, and who knows, if 2-3 come in the door, everyone's happy, and see where we go from there.
Very true. Yeah, very true. Well, hopefully they do, like you say, pull somebody awesome out of the hat there, because United, we haven't generally been buying those big, like, it's not like we're realistically going to go get Sergio Ramos or somebody at centre back, is it? So yeah, we've got to sort of shop around in a little different area and get some of these up and comers. I like what Solskjaer and the board have actually done in terms of the signings they've made over the last sort of year. It does seem like they've changed their sort of mentality of getting these bigger names, sort of marquee players. Some of them arguably maybe just coming for the money. I don't know, Alexis Sanchez or whatnot. But yeah, so have you seen that at the club? Do you think that they are now, they've sort of learnt from maybe Jose and Louis days, and they're maybe looking at doing things a little bit differently with the sort of philosophy of bringing new players in now?
Yeah, well, I think obviously Harry Maguire, Wan-Bissaka both had good seasons. I think the reason that everyone's so positive about the transfer market now is because of Bruno Fernandes, who they have pulled a rabbit out of the hat, who has hit the ground running and been absolutely fantastic. So that, if that's the bar where it's been set of the impact of Bruno Fernandes, 2 signings like that, I do believe United would be there or thereabouts come the end of the season. Obviously, it is still a lottery. It is how people settle once they come to the club. If everything fits in perfectly, and they can do that. What Solskjaer has done, probably more than Van Gaal and Mourinho, is help them signings by these players coming into a really good environment now, a really positive environment where, as I mentioned earlier with Sir Alex, everyone pulling in the same direction. To me, obviously from the outside looking in, it does seem like that's what it's like now. There's no sort of cliques or whatever in the dressing room. Everyone seems happy. The likes of Pogba and Martial, who potentially over the past 3-4 years, you might look at their attitude or body language when they're playing where they don't look particularly happy. I think now everyone looks happy to be in and around the squad. So I think that gives new signings a real chance, an opportunity, as Bruno has done, to hit the ground running and come in and make a real impact, like he's done. Wan-Bissaka and Harry Maguire to a lesser extent slightly, but still have come in and had good seasons and shown that they're good, could quite easily be really good Manchester United players in the next 5, 6, 7 years.
Yeah, so yeah, like you say, Ole Gunnar seems to have developed quite a lot of the players well this season since he's come in. Obviously, Marshall's come on a lot. Luke Shaw, like we were talking about, he seems to have benefited a lot from the Jose Mourinho days to Ole. I agree with you, Luke. I think if you look at the overall sort of team feeling at the moment, they all do seem to be really working very hard for each other, and everybody does seem happy. So I think you've got a healthy environment that obviously helps a lot. Just a couple of questions from some of my subscribers. They wanted to know, where do you keep your Premier League winners medal?
You know what?
Have you got it to hand, have you, Luke?
I had it the other day when I was doing a call. Got it right there.
Oh, check it out, lads and
a little bit rusty. It needs a clean, but I've always got it on hand.
That is amazing. Where do you keep it? Well, it's just here.
Yeah, it's always next to me wherever I go.
I love that. Just a couple of other ones from the subscribers. What was the favourite goal that you ever scored in your career? Was it? I think maybe I asked you something similar earlier, but was it that Leeds one, or actually no? Just in terms of maybe the best goal you ever scored.
I think my favourite goal, and this is quite a strange one, obviously because I've scored for Manchester United, but when I was a kid, I used to go and watch Cambridge United play. And when I turned into a teenager, I used to go and stand behind the goal at the Newmarket Road end and sort of sing along with the rest of the people. So towards the end of my career, I actually scored a goal for Cambridge at the Newmarket Road end. And it was an incredible feeling. I felt so emotional because I just sort of fulfilled a childhood dream by scoring in that goal. And I used to fantasize about doing it. So that was probably my favourite goal, because I've never felt like that on a football pitch before. I felt like I was going to start crying or something. I was that emotional after scoring it. So although incredible to score for Man United, that was probably the standout moment of sort of 33, 34 years old, but sort of realising a schoolboy dream or a schoolboy fantasy. So that a strange answer, I know. I'm sure you'll agree, but that would have been the goal.
Well, there's something about being that hometown hero, isn't there? You know, so like definitely. You say, growing up locally and aspiring to that is pretty amazing. Just lastly, Luca, whereabouts can people find you on social media and the Football Fan Factory? Where can they look into all of this information if they want to come and get their kids involved? And
so the website is the footballfunfactory.co.uk. I'm on all social media. I ain't really got a Scooby-Doo what I'm doing on it though, but I'm on, I think it's Luke at the FFF on Twitter, Luke Chadwick on Facebook, and you'll find it on there. It's Football Fun Factory. It's all over sort of Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, all of them. So it should be quite easy to find. But if you find me on there and you want any more information, please feel free to get in touch with me.
Fantastic. And just lastly, where do you see Manchester United? I know this is a bit of a Mystic Meg question, but where do you see Manchester United finishing this coming season in the Premier League? Bear in mind, Chelsea have strengthened a lot, and obviously Liverpool and City are still going to be up there. And you've got other teams now seem to be making a few moves, like Arsenal, even Everton. Wolves are going to be in and around there, probably Tottenham. So where do you see Manchester United realistically finishing come the end of this season under Solskjaer?
I do think it's so hard to predict and guess. But I do think there is a chance of them being right at the top of the league. Well, I probably wouldn't have said that if none of this situation had happened. But obviously, clubs are having to cut their cloth accordingly because the money's not coming into football clubs because there's no supporters coming into the grounds, and sort of the TV money's sort of getting delayed and whatnot. Chelsea have obviously strengthened massively, but you get to that situation. Have they strengthened too much of too many new faces in the squad going into a new season with not the same amount of time to prepare for the new season? Liverpool haven't strengthened. Do I think Liverpool will have the same season they had last season? No, I don't think they can do that again. I don't think they can be as good, as effective as they was last season. City, again, Pep's sort of fantastic manager, but they're not pulling up any trees come the end of last season. And Ollie's, if you took the league from when lockdown come back, I'm pretty sure United would have been in the top 2 of that.
Yeah, you're probably right.
When football returns. So I think it is going to be as exciting as it's been for the last 4 or 5 years, because I think we all knew last season it was going to be, or the last 2 seasons, it was going to be a shootout between Liverpool and Man City. Despite how much you hope United are going to be there, they just weren't in a position to compete. But like you say, Arsenal are strengthening. I do think more points are going to get taken off the top clubs. Like Liverpool hardly lost a game. City don't lose many games. I think they will next season. And you put a good run together, which Ollie has done, to be fair, and where he brought the club back into 3rd place to get Champions League football. I'd never say never. I wouldn't put my mortgage on United winning it, but I wouldn't say it's impossible, which I think maybe it would have been if this awful situation around coronavirus hadn't sort of struck the whole country and the whole world.
Yeah, it's an interesting point actually, Luke, especially about Chelsea there, because they have made a lot of signings, but I suppose there's no guarantee these players are going to come in, especially from different leagues and footballing cultures, and instantly hit the ground running and all gel and work as a team. So that's a very good point. And I just hope United get one or two more players in this window to give Ole a few more tools this season. Certainly a centre back I think would be brilliant. But is Sancho the man that you think we should prioritise the most, or would it be a centre back?
I wouldn't say. I'd say a centre back's probably more important, but at the same time, if you got an opportunity to sign Jadon Sancho, I think you should do everything you can too, because he is the sort of player that I'm sure you'd love. With all the supporters, would love to see him at Manchester United, because he does look like a Man United sort of player, someone who's going to excite the crowd, score goals, assisting goals, and someone who could give another X factor where the squad just gets stronger and stronger. I think you obviously win titles by your effectiveness in both boxes, and I think he could add a hell of a lot to the effectiveness in the attacking third for United. Then something to win it. I think we could win the league without Sancho. I don't think we could win the league without defensive reinforcements.
Yeah, very good point. I'm always banging on about that. Actually, you need a world-class centre-back to be a world-class team. Really, all the top teams seem to have at least one, don't they? So, fantastic, Luke. Well, thank you very, very much for your time today. It's been an absolute pleasure and a privilege speaking to you about your career and picking your brains about United. Sorry for chewing your ear off about United so much, but
no worries. Enjoyed it. Nice talking to you.
Yeah, really appreciate it, Luke. Thank you so much for giving up your time today. And everybody who's watching this, please do us a favor and smash that like button and give Luke a follow on social media as well. And just thank you very much for watching. Get your thoughts and opinions and comments in the box below about anything we've discussed in this video. So great stuff, Luke. Any plans for the rest of the day?
Nah, probably just sit about, wait for the boy to finish school and go and see how he's got on his first day, and hopefully keep him off the computer when he gets home.
Great stuff. Thank you so much, Luke. Have a good one then. All the best to you, and congrats on a great career, mate. Been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you. Take care.
Thank you, Luke. Take care, mate. Cheers. Bye.